Welcome back to Limitless Living, the podcast for women over 40 who are resetting and rising and choosing to do so without the burnout or the overwhelm. So, today we're talking about why so many smart, capable women keep burning themselves out, all in the name of success, in the name of love, in the name of reinvention. If you have ever thought to yourself, I need to overhaul everything, I just need to change, I need to just do a drastic overhaul, or I need to start over. I really wish I could start over. Or maybe I just need to dive in. I just need to go in head first, go all in to make this work and then only wind up exhausted again and again and again. Or maybe you've thought, you know what, I'll just add this. If I go through this program, I'll know what I'm doing and everything will fall into place. And you've added it in and you've just thought, you know what, I can push through. I can add this into my schedule already. I'm going to just get this done and push through and do this. And then you wind up exhausted again. This episode is going to hit home and it's going to change how you approach transformation. So, by the end of today, I'm hoping that you are, first of all, feeling lighter and more hopeful and maybe a little bit more in control. I want you to understand why extreme changes often lead to our collapse. And I think I said our in there because these are things I've done myself. I'm a doer. I've said it before. And I like to do. I want to do it all. Truth be told. So I'm right there with you if you are relating to any of this, but it's not sustainable. It does not work. I want you to understand by the end of this what nervous system capacity actually has to do with your sustainable growth, your ability to get where you want to go and then stay there. And how to reset your life without actually blowing it up, destroying it, or burning it down in the process. Because real reinvention, if this is the stage you're in, real growth, it does not require the drama we often feel like and think it does. It actually requires regulation more than anything. So let's dive into this one. So, I see this pattern a lot. I see this coming in my office with my coaching clients and my programs. A woman reaches a breaking point. She's tired, she's frustrated, she feels stuck in her own body. Maybe her body's not cooperating anymore. Her work, her routine, her identity are all shaken. The solution that she reaches for is more intensity. It's doing something extra, adding something more onto her plate, more overwhelm, a new diet, a 5 a.m. routine, a total business pivot, and a full lifestyle overhaul because it's just not all working, a dramatic cleanse. You get the picture, right? It's that all in mentality and approach. And somewhere along the way, this is because we have been conditioned. We have learned that real change must feel dramatic to count. Is that true? No, it is not true. What I have learned both professionally and personally is that extreme change triggers an extreme stress response in the body. And if your nervous system is already out of whack, it's already maxed out, it's already hanging by a thread, or just even modestly, consistently stressed and strained, layering in this intensity, this level of more, and going right in on top of that, that will not create expansion in your world. It actually creates the collapse of it. This is where I see women, and I've experienced this, just collapse, get to a point where they want to push through, but they're not able to push through. So the real issue here becomes capacity. Let's talk about this in the word, the concept, what it means, because this is not something we really talk about usually. We don't ever consider this, the capacity of what we are able to do before we're pushing to the next thing. You can only rise to the level that your nervous system feels safe. You might get a little bit past that, but you're not going to sustain it. You're not going to hold it. It's not going to stick. And if your system is already living in a state of chronic stress or over functioning or caretaking mode, I mean, I've been in all of these. I know, ladies, I know what it's like to be pushing hard and trying to keep your job going and trying to keep your family going and trying to grow, trying to pay the bills, trying to do all of this and be sandwiched in between a toddler, be sandwiched in between a mom in her 90s and health problems of your own, health problems with your mom, and that your health problems are becoming more because your nervous system is becoming more and more and more dysregulated because now you're a single mom in between your child and this and a business and all these things. I get it. You might not have all those things. You might just have one, and it might be feel like it's just sincere overload, and that's okay. It's your system talking to you. It's your body talking to you. This level of hyper responsibility a lot of us take on, and we get, sometimes we're thrust into it. Sometimes it's out of need, and we get stuck in it then. And we're just always in this heightened hyper level of responsibility, and that taxes our nervous system tremendously. Or maybe it's quiet burnout for you. Maybe you're still going through the motions, you're getting most of it done, but slowly but surely it's not feeling as good as it used to. Your energy levels are lower than they used to. Sometimes you can't think straight. That's the quiet burnout that might be happening. And then you feel like, okay, I need a change. This isn't working. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to figure this out. And that is too big, too overwhelming, and it feels like a threat to your system. It does not feel like growth. So your body will resist this. It's not because you're lazy, it's not because you lack any discipline, it's not because you're not smart enough or anything. It's not because you're not enough about anything. You are enough. Let me repeat that. You are enough. This is because your system is actually trying to protect you. It does not feel safe. It does not feel regulated. Therefore, it's trying to stop you from doing more and making it feel even more so that way. So, I call it the burn it down myth. There is this cultural narrative that says if you want change, you need to burn it down. Just destroy it all, start over, quit, change course. And I mean, this is extreme. I know it's not always this extreme, but we do have that out there. In fact, you can just watch the news nowadays and you'll see this rampant. But this is not the time, if your nervous system is dysregulated, it's not the time to make a big move. It really is not. Over 40 is especially also not the time to make a big move. I'll tell you why. We get to this point, and what we need is recalibration. It's not destruction of anything. We don't need to quit our lives. We might think and dream about it sometimes, but we don't need that. What we really need is to make adjustments to our lives. And we don't need to become someone else, even though you might even be feeling like that. What you really need to do is come back home to yourself or rediscover who you really are. Maybe you never really fully felt like yourself. Maybe, you had parents, society, yourself, just impose all these expectations. You never really got in touch with who you really are on the inside. That's what really needs to happen. And, that kind of a reset is rarely something that's loud, something that's big in that respect, or noisy or chaotic. It's rhythmic instead. What you find when you're making this reset internally that's going to really mean something, really last, and you're coming back to yourself. And and you're becoming steady. There's no chaos in this. It's sustainable. It's meaningful. And I mean, aren't we all really craving joy and meaning and something that is peaceful and steady? Yes, exciting. We absolutely need excitement in our lives. Not boring, but something that's consistent that way inside of us and consistent with our meaning, our purpose, our identity. So instead of asking yourself, how do I change everything? I want you to pick one aligned shift that you can make and you can sustain without collapsing, because this is where the power lives. Maybe this is going to be a 10-minute walk instead of a 60-minute gym commitment. Okay. You do not have to wait to start something or make a change until you can do the big change. Start with the little things, make them consistent. That is more important, far more impactful into your body, your mind, your nervous system, your life, and the results that you're looking for. Maybe it's protein at breakfast instead of not eating, or instead, even if that means you're drinking it. I add collagen to my coffee every day, and I start my every single day out with my warm lemon water first to activate things. I'll get into that in probably a future episode and all the reasons why. But and then I have my on the go coffee with a bunch of collagen in it because I'm starting my day with protein. If I'm eating, I'm starting, a food, I'm starting my day with eggs or a frittata that I've made or something that's a bunch of protein. So maybe that's your sustainable shift. That's not hard, not giant, but will move the needle in how you feel throughout the day, how you think, how you feel, how your muscles react, your maintenance over 40, all of these things. Instead of thinking, I need this new plan, I need an overhaul. That's one way of implementing an aligned shift that you can actually do consistently and sustainably that will prevent you from starting something and then having it collapse. So, how about turning off the screens 30 minutes before bedtime, or 30 minutes earlier? Ideally, it would be more than that. 30 minutes earlier than you might normally turn them off so that you can get a more restful sleep and you can disconnect a little bit more. And that means TV screens too. They all have the blue light. How about saying no once this week? This is a biggie for us, ladies. Is this a biggie for you? How about saying no to something that you really don't want to do? You would normally say yes because you feel like you're expected to say yes, or just because you are so accustomed to being in automatic yes mode. How about if you said no? You don't even need an explanation. I'm going to remind you, no is a complete sentence. So, how about if you did that? What would that do in terms of shifting how you feel and how things look to you? How about delegating one task, just one, and accepting it being finished, even if it's not exactly how you would have done it? These are samples, ideas for small, stable shifts that build strength. Now, I want you to listen to this really closely because this is really important. These small, seemingly, simple, inconsequential shifts, these small, stable shifts build strength. I know they seem little, but they build strength. Here's where the magic happens. Then strength builds capacity. When your capacity grows, capacity allows for bigger expansion. These are the bigger changes you were looking for. That's the order it happens in. So small, stable shifts that build strength. They equal strength. Strength builds capacity. Capacity allows expansion. And that is the order. So this matters extra over 40 because literally at this stage in life, you do not have, let me rephrase, at this stage of life, you do not have the same nervous system that you had at 25. And our nervous systems could tolerate a whole lot more at 25. We might have seemed more impatient, but the amount of stress we could handle, the amount of disruption, dysregulation we could handle was likely greater when you were in your 20s. So you have lived, I've lived, we have lived these decades of life. And that means we've carried things. We've carried our own problems, our own heartaches, and we've carried problems and heartaches of other people. We've accumulated things internally, not just around us, but internally. We have absorbed stress. I know you have absorbed stress, whether it's from family or friends or your own life personally, whatever it is, you've shown up for the people in your world. And your transformation now, any changes you want to make now, they need to be more intelligent, more calculated, more adjustments versus big, giant changes and overhauls. Because all those little small adjustments, they start to layer and then they equal the big change, the big overhaul, the big reinvention that you might be craving. But it starts with the little. So, when we were in our 20s, our teens, our 20s, even our 30s, we could kind of white knuckle it through to push to the next chapter. And I'll be the first one to confess, I missed those days where I could just say, all right, I'm going to buckle down. I don't need that much sleep. I can get there. And I would get there. But it's different now. You hit this stage of life, you're carrying so much more that you just, the only way to really get there is to regulate yourself there. It's not to continue to dysregulate yourself. So you're going to hear me say these words a lot. Okay, so I want you to reflect now, and I want to give you your questions for today as we close this. Where are you trying to explode your life forward instead of adjusting it forward? Think about that. What are the things that you're doing that are maybe pushing, white knuckling? What is it you're doing that's is an attempt to explode towards whatever it is you're working towards instead of adjusting step by step by step forward towards it? And where are you using intensity instead of alignment? What's one small shift you could make this week that will build the strength instead of draining it? You need strength for this, strength for your capacity to grow so that all of your hopes and dreams can come into fruition. So pick one, just sustain it. That's it. That's your reset this week. So you don't need drama to grow, you need consistency. If this episode resonated with you, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you know another woman who is tired of starting over, share this episode with her. If you want to go deeper, I've created a free Limitless Living community where these conversations, they continue beyond the mic. So it's a space for women just like you over 40 who are in that reset and rise without burnout. You'll find the link in the show notes. We're building something amazing and something that is sustainable here. So until our next episode,